Here we go.
Yeah.
All right, we are live. Finally. Link number 2, of course. I mean, what would a live stream be without 2 links? No, guys, this is the 105 link. Anyways, hey man, we're here. Looks like it's showing up.
Awesome.
We've got Outsiders Motor Company here with us. Thanks for joining, man. Appreciate it. We're gonna get into some good stuff here today. Let me see if I can pull up. Well, anyways, Bravo, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, man. Yeah, good. Just been on the road a lot and
Yeah,
crazy busy. So it'd be nice to get a little bit of a refresher of the market. I mean, I pay attention, but it's been from afar the last week or so.
yeah.
So I'm just watching kind of the macro view.
Yeah,
where
well,
we're
let's cover that. I've been, and first of all, I hope everybody can hear us. I've got the audio stuff. Hopefully this is coming through. We had internet stuff. I was VPN ported outside the country for some, whatever. But here we are. I think it should be good if you can, Outsiders Motor Company, if you can hear us, if you wouldn't mind, give us a thumbs up in the chat. But thanks for being here, guys. But yeah, Bravo, I agree, man. I have been so deep, like for 3 days straight. Well, I haven't had a lot of time too because, for whatever reasons, I haven't had a lot of time to work. But I've been so deep in trying to code the algorithm for a trading bot that
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's actually coming along. Yeah. But
wow.
it's a whole
amazing.
So basically this is the whole world of like black box quant finance, which is something that I've always been fascinated with, and I've tried to code a few times, but like you've heard me say this in the past, but I could never quite get it right. And I'll show we'll get into that. Let's do a market recap and let's kind of do a around the world type thing, and then I want to show you kind of what I've been getting into. So let me see. Yeah. I'm just looking at Telegram real quick. Yeah, I think BT. We about to backtest 37. Hold on, I'm just gonna type in the Telegram real quick.
I mean, the Bitcoin daily and weekly you've got an obvious back test going on here. Couldn't get much more clear if you're on log.
So course, obviously this is the T-field chart, but let's look at around the world. So first of all, what I have been doing on all the videos and what we do is we look at equities first because they're so strongly correlated. And when you have this is S&P, this is 5 minute. Let me zoom back out. What's going on the daily, right? So this is S&P. Look, we double kissed the 618. Right? Double kiss that, and then we've been following since. We had a little bit of relief last week, but into close last week, that was when we had a lot of concerns over both, first of all, I think this was Wednesday close or Thursday close, we started going up on some bullish FOMC stuff, comments. And then all of a sudden the market goes down. Everybody's like, oh, it's Russia and Ukraine and all this FUD and fear and everything. Well, and this is what I told everybody on some videos was, guys, we're playing pinball here between 618 and 236. A break above 618 I think is bullish. A break below 236 and I'm bearish, or at least for the short term. So, and then if I back up again, right? So my grand theory on the markets is that we do eventually blow off. So I've been actually rethinking that at least the last few days because I'm wondering maybe we don't quite blow off, but maybe all markets go and get some sort of retracement, right? So I don't know. I'm running like I always do, multiple theories or multiple scenarios, a la vis-a-vis multiple predictions, and I hate predicting. So when we get into my bot, what I'm programming or what I'm working on, I will show you, and you'll start to see yeah, when you operate like this, no wonder you hate predicting, because I just want to go to the chart and say, chart, what do you say? Are we short or are we long? Right? And you can apply that in a time frame, and we'll get into that. But let me back up to this. From the macro sense, I think in terms of markets and in terms of risk on and risk off. So if equities are under pressure, Bitcoin's going to be under pressure unless something crazy happens, and it hasn't happened in a long time. unless we totally disconnect. So until we do, equities under pressure means Bitcoin's under pressure. So that's why I always keep one eye on equities. So see, this daily candle is a pretty healthy red body candle here. And we're close to low on day, which is, the acronym is LOD if you see it written. So we're close to low on day here. And so bears are in control, right? If I look at this, before we kind of cover Bitcoin, if I look at this, I'm thinking in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, let's pull up an ABC, because that's kind of what I see on the chart, right? Like, is this, could we be finished? Because that's long enough for symmetry, right? So A and C, when I look at ABCs, right, Bravo, I always look like, okay, I'm expecting C to be at least the size of A. So
hey, hang on a second. I lost your screen. I wanted to see you.
All right, hold on. I got you. Let me go over to Zoom meeting settings. So there's so many different things, man.
Talk it up.
I know. Hold on. Let me share. I gotta share my.
Let me go talk to the producer real quick. Yeah.
I know, right?
Let me go wring his neck.
Can you see my?
Yeah, we're good.
All
we're
right,
back.
Hold on. I just lost. I gotta update my my deal here. Turning into audio video guy, trading bot guy. Okay, back to this. So, can you see that, Bravo?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so on symmetry, like what I'm looking at is like ABC to be symmetrical. And then if you look at the chart, you're like, what would make sense? What would make sense is if we came back here and do a double bottom.
Yeah, right, so double, sure.
That would make sense. And then if this breaks down, let me show you guys. Okay, if this breaks down, let's look at levels to the downside, because that's what we do, right? So if this breaks, then this is how I work it. You go back in time and you look left and you look at other older support resistance levels. So like this was a bounce. We found support here. I'm not sure that's the strongest support resistance in the world, but it is a level because it was prior support. This is probably a little bit stronger because it had about 2 touches here. So 41.73, 40.61, and then I would also look at maybe this. This is an interesting level. Look at this, man. We had a resistance level that was never back tested. Right, so that's another. Like we could, if things get crazy, and this is my other theory. Instead of like we just go straight up only and blow off. There is a scenario where we fall down here and maybe we come down here and we retest this top side, right? And then, so this would go to my retrace theory. All markets retrace, okay? So this is we don't get blow off top, but all markets retrace theory is that, yeah, this is going to get really ugly, pretty ugly, and really ugly pretty quickly. And that would make it larger ABC. And then all markets get a retrace, and then it's, I think this could get really bad after that. So, we'll just have to see and let the markets tell us. But that's that's just the equities market and how I look at it. That matters though, because when you look at Bitcoin, in the court, obviously it's correlated here. But if we look at, let me find my standalone. There we go. So this is just the daily on Bitcoin. So let's say that scenario plays out. Like if we do break on equities, if we do break to the downside, that's where in that scenario where I talk about this level down here, right?
Yep.
So like if
I was just looking at that.
Yeah, if equities break that level, in my opinion, then I think we're going to break this level, and I think it'll match, right? We had a low point. I think this low point correlated to the equity low point. Yeah. And it just matches, right? So I think if equities, well, let me actually repaint this, because so if equities break down, I think Bitcoin breaks down below 33. I think we go to 30, and it's going to be pretty ugly, for alts too, as everything's going to melt. Obviously this is like the bearish scenario, and I do have a bullish scenario too, but we're looking at both sides of the coin, right? But if that were to happen, I think that would come in where there's a scenario where the ABC actually would start now from here, right? So if we break this level, I think the ABC can start from here, and I think we can get a pretty quick A, and then a B, and then a C might be a lot longer. Either way, I think that would be a good exit point for longs, for longs, and for even core positions, you know, on a breakdown of chart. But so that's if this plays out. Okay, so that's kind of the more medium. What happens with equities if equities do get a break and they have to go down to 4,000 on the S&P? Then I think this could be in play. Okay, now let's say equities hold and double bottom or something. You know, there are a couple levels in here, and actually let me do the ray, horizontal ray, so it's a little bit cleaner. So we have that, right? We have this level. There's 36.3, 33, and then let's just call it 30. Right, so these levels I'm looking at for the horizontals. And Disrado's here. Hey, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining. So we have these horizontal levels, and on the downside, I think if this doesn't hold, then we break down to maybe here at 30. We retest 33, and possibly we break down if equities do too. So either way, I think that the ABC, we'll get an ABC. So here's how that looks. So either this is A and we're putting in a B. Now B can't go below this level, right? So if this level breaks, then we have to restart it. So if that's A and B is somewhere in here, maybe it's in. We'll have to see. And then that could be ABC. Could be a point up here. I was looking at 55 to 57K, somewhere in there. But you know, that's possible. And then we have the fractal pattern. The fractal pattern would indicate, and that's the fractal we've been following for 5.5 months, right? And it's a bear market fractal too. So the fractal pattern match would indicate that the bottom is pretty close to here. So we bottom pretty close to where we are, right? So watching that too, I have the fractal in here. Okay, so this is a zoom in. This is a 4-hour chart. This is a fractal. Let me zoom out first. So I'm going to show you guys how this is constructed, and some of the things that I had to do to make this match now for the current data. Okay, so this is a chart, and I explained this in the video Monday. This is a chart on log scale. So this is a log scale match. That's how you get this to match to this time frame. If you take it off log scale, then you have to readjust. But let's just for now, we'll leave it on log scale. Why that matters is basically if you draw this trend line, you know, this is basically shows that the fractal did a trend line back test. Right. So let me get this red line off here, but and the green and red. Oh, those are my signals. Yeah. So this is the bull scenario. The bull scenario is that equities find a bottom from about here and go up, get a start moving back up. They don't have to necessarily blow off, but they just have to find a bottom and start not selling off, in my opinion. And that would match with the Bitcoin move up too, in my opinion, unless they start decoupling, and we haven't seen that yet. But for some reason, yeah, they could just start moving, and we did see that though. If you look at and we'll take a look at the overlay, but if you look at the overlay, Bitcoin did lead the bounce from September or July into November, if you recall that, right? So, you know, obviously we're watching a lot of things on the macro sense, but kind of like, you know, this is a bullish scenario. This is if this support holds and the fractal continues to hold, and this is a 5.5 month fractal. So if the fractal, if we break down, right, then we'll have deviated from the fractal pattern, so that breaks. And then we go into classical charting and chart analysis, and then make determinations there. But for now, the fractal has held for so long, it's, in my mind, I think the fractal plays out until we significantly break away from it. So I'm more inclined to say we should follow the fractal pattern until we don't. All right, so we still are. And again, let's go back in time here, last few days, and I think this was about middle of last week. We broke down this section. I mean, we've been following the fractal, to a T.
Yeah.
If you were go back in time a week, like last week's live stream, or even a week before, we were anticipating this dip based on the fractal. And so here we are. So it's really no surprise. It's really no surprise that we're here. I mean, it sucks to see, like, the drop, for sure, for long-term positions. But hey, if we keep following this, it's not much longer. The bull case is, if we keep following this fractal, we're going to be riding this very soon. And so that's where, like, for the bull scenario, is where we have, if this holds, we probably have, let's say, I'm going to measure from the start of this fractal time period. I'm going to kind of do it to the end. This is that 30 days I was talking about this week in the video. This is about that 30 days of up only. And, if I get everything I wish for, that not only does this go up Bitcoin price, but we get alt separation, right? So we get, and that's kind of the alt pattern. If we can get alts to separate up here, then alts can do really well. But for me in my world and what I'm doing, okay, is like Bitcoin Cash going to go to, new all-time highs, and maybe, or its old all-time high? I think Bitcoin Cash was what, like 3,000 or 4,000? Is Bitcoin Cash sitting currently at $295? Is it going to run, is it going to run a 10x? I don't see it, honestly. In my world, and I've talked about this a few times, but in my world, this is get what you can get, right? So it's this is a good market out point, and if alts can separate, and hopefully they do maybe better than May, June, July, something like that, then this is get what you can get.
Right.
Unless you want to ride down another summer correction, right? If you want to just sit and not get out and ride down another summer correction,
which we just did, by the way.
Right, exactly. If you want to ride this down again, then don't get out.
Even worse.
And just sit there. Especially, and I keep saying this, but we'll do this. We'll watch this together. But especially when you get a chart signal like on the daily, where it's like a breakdown. Hey guys, sell signal, and this is a sell signal in the Jedi world. Yeah. The IOSHI system. This is a sell signal. So let's look at that and why I called a sell signal on the daily on the Bitcoin price chart. So what the so we had a buy signal back here, triggered here on this. I believe it was this. It was the big one that broke out on the trend. Just for a minute, let me switch this back to normal because it's better for signals. But so we had our previous kind of signal system. We had a buy signal trigger on the breakout of this line and RSI. So we had a break and break. It's a break and break system. So you have you're below, you break up. That's a buy signal right there on stronger RSI. So there you are. There's your buy signal. And then what happens is when you break down, and the sell signal came in from the break of, I know that's not all the wick, but basically the break on this candle right here was a daily sell signal, right? So it correlated or corresponded with a break of this trend. So, and I remember you and I actually watching this RSI and watching it curl up this line, right? We're like, if that breaks, if that breaks, this could fall. We didn't. It turned back up. If you zoom in here, dude, this is a 702 kiss. Have you looked at this? I think we did. Look at this, man. You're going to be impressed.
Oh, yeah.
So 702 rejection. It's a lower time frame rejection, but it's valid, right? So look at that. So zooming in here, and let's get that there. So look, candle body wick got above it. Candle body closed below, kissed, and rejected off 702. Down we go, right? So you get a 702 rejection. You break this trend on price. You break trend on RSI. That's a sell signal in the IOSHI system. Let's put a vertical line here on red. So we're under sell signal. What that means is that bears are in control, and until bulls can reclaim or regain, then it's down. We're going down. So to build on that, what I'm looking for now, so that's the setup. That's kind of how we got here. It was buy signal, sell signal. And so I guess the point here is that if we get a retrace, if we get Bitcoin 55, 58K, if alts separate, if alts move up, and alts are doing pretty well, if we get another one of these, guys, sell signal daily. It's, for me, that's when the music stops for me. That's like time to exit positions, it's time to get out. But it may switch, right? Because you do see these things switch. On the lowest time frames, they switch often. But and I talked about this being about, and this was on last live stream, but on average, I see signals lasting on average like 10 to 12 candles. But it's a bell curve, right? So yes, you can have it occur in 3 candles. You can have it occur in 18 candles. But it's a bell curve. So on average, or statistically, you flip your signals about every 10 to 12 candles. But but anyways, that's what we're looking for. So what's a little promising is that what I do is I just start drawing trends, right? So I draw like high angle trends, to start. So you put all your price below this. Let me just kind of delete some of this stuff to make it look better. So now we're under this. So now we, at least for this trend line, we're above it. But again, and this is why some people hate trend lines, because they say they have to redraw them all the time. But we do have a like now, is that, do we need to draw it like this or something? So what I'm looking for is confirmation of this trend changing. So the first thing I see is I see RSI coming up from below. That's part of the system. So a buy signal is RSI coming up from below, piercing up, getting above 35. If it can break a trend, that's great. It just adds to the signal. And then once price breaks, that's confirmation. So it's a break and break system. So I need RSI to break up and price to break up. Was this it? Because you do have a break of that line, and you do have a break on RSI. So it's not the worst thing in the world. And we are seeing we're seeing relative strength versus equities. I kind of talked about that yesterday, I think a little bit. We're seeing, because equities were down on futures and earlier this week, I think it was Monday. So we're seeing a little bit of relative strength. I think it was yesterday's candle that equities were down, Bitcoin was up. So a little relative strength. So all these things kind of go into the assessment, right? So what I would say is, obviously we have to let the chart tell us what's going on in the present. But, what I see is we are still following this fractal. Well, let me back up. We are seeing equities under pressure. We are seeing it, I believe, it impacting Bitcoin and crypto. We all are following this fractal really closely. So this dip is no surprise. And we also got a daily sell signal on the dip. Looking for a daily buy signal. I think if that happens, if we follow the fractal, what we're going to see, what that'll look like is, and perhaps we get a higher low, so let's just say this plays out. And perhaps this next day, and we could even come down lower, because if we print, this would be like a wide divergence setup, where if we have a higher low on RSI, but a low, even a double bottom, or even a lower low on price, then you can that can signal your bottom. So I wouldn't be surprised here. Well, I wouldn't be surprised to see it hold. I wouldn't be surprised to see it drop, because I wouldn't be surprised to see this RSI drop, because what I'm thinking about is, if we match the fractal, I think we have a couple more days of sideways, and perhaps, and let's look at a fractal if we, oh, I blasted it, didn't I? But the fractal, I put it up there, but I think the fractal goes sideways for a couple more days, and then honestly, it's a violent,
For sure.
it's a violent push up. So that's going to be what you're going to see is you're going to see that break. You're going to see like a reversal, right? You're going to come down, you're going to go sideways for a bit, and then you're going to rip roar out of here. If we follow the fractal, then probably the next 3-4 days, I think 3-4, maybe it goes, we break up this weekend. It's kind of my assessment.
Boy, that would be nice.
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean,
at this
like
point,
we talked about this yesterday, man. Like I could see this going on for, and I'm not here to be a bear by any means. Obviously, I'm interested in up only too, but just having seen this particular topping structure, and like we've talked about this ad nauseum, but these corrections do not go quickly. They don't.
Mm-hmm.
And when I pull up like the macro Bitcoin chart, like the weekly, that to me looks like it's got more work to do. And like it's obviously just my opinion, but if you just look at that thing, it looks like it really looks like there should be a natural touch down to about 29 to me. Mm-hmm. And 29, 30, 31, and then maybe like a double bottom, and then you get a correction coming out of there, which pushes everything way out into the spring.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the back of my mind, like to me, that's totally possible. I was showing you a chart last night. We don't have to dive into that, but it grinds, finds its bottom, then a double bottom on a much bigger, like weekly scale. And I could see it. I could definitely see it in this structure. Like that to me on the weekly, look at that. That is like an obvious support area.
Right. Yeah. Because we have
way down there at 29.30. Yeah. Like all those.
Because we have
like that. Yeah.
That and that. Right. So we have all this whole area, Yeah. So that's not something that we want to hear, but that is a pretty firm, I think, a pretty firm assessment, right? Like that's not like what I want to hear is, hey guys, 5 waves up only tomorrow, right? Like,
but I mean, you and I are so far. Yeah, we are so far like beyond trying to just like go up only and predict time. It's like this is all about watching what the chart is telling us, and if it's April, then it's April. I don't. My expectations on time are completely gone at this point.
Yeah, predicting time, I mean, aside from that fractal pattern, because the fractal pattern, if we keep following it, then we go up pretty soon. Sure. But aside from that,
that'd be awesome.
If equities break down, then we go back to the drawing board, right? So it's just like, you know, and that's the thing is like, and I say it all the time, but like, no one knows the future, right? Like if somebody knows the future, then, you know, that's the first time in human history, I think. Like people can whatever say, right? Like people can say,
I think you're right.
see into the future and have visions of such. Like I believe that. Sure, like or a different time or whatever. Like we don't have to get way too crazy into that, but like you can't sit here and be like Bitcoin goes up tomorrow. Like no one knows that. But like that's what we use charts and patterns to give us an edge, to give us the only thing like an edge. What an edge is and what an edge does, it tells you there's higher probability of something happening than something else, right? So that's why, that's the only reason why we study and analyze charts is because patterns are predictive of human behavior and they have repeated in the past, so we expect them to repeat again. That's it.
Yep.
Right. So, you know, like that's why like you and I know on the side, man, we're like, dude, I'm so sick of predicting. Because it's like, dude, I predicted 53K would hold, right? Like if you want to talk about predictions, right? I'm like, okay, my outlook, right? Like my outlook was at one point, okay,
I remember
53K holds. Here we go. Or whatever 53K is, I think this level, right? And we kissed it. Okay, now like we're going to bounce. We're going to get a retrace, all's pump, whatever. Nope, that broke. Okay, now this will hold. Nope, didn't. Okay, this will hold. Nope, didn't. Okay, now we double bottom on the fractal. Nope, up only. Now we're back to following the fractal, but it's not a perfect match. And it's like that wears me. What wears me down more than anything is being like, you know, like here's what I think is going to happen, and when I'm running like 2 or 3 scenarios, right? Or I'm like, it's a lot like my mind operates a lot more in like if then statements than like this is it, we're up only tomorrow, right? So it's like it wears me down. But what doesn't wear me down is being like, okay, what is my signal system saying to do, right? And so like, you want to get into that, man?
Well, of course. I mean, that's the progression. The idea that you're going to just have a flourish in this market by doing the predictive analysis, and you're always going to buy low and sell high. I mean, that's you know how I feel about that. Like, you need to be able to work this market both directions. It's the only way to survive,
right?
And you got to be able to do it well. Like,
right.
It's the only way. That way you don't you don't succumb to depression when the price goes down every time. I mean, you're helpless in that scenario.
Been there a lot. Been there a lot, right?
Yeah.
Well, and right. You know what's worse than your own predictions?
What?
Everyone else's predictions.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, man. I go like, yes, I do spend time on Twitter. I like shunned it forever, but then I'm like, I'm watching for other stuff. But you see it, and you guys like, oh, I'm short here to 15K. Oh, I'm long here to 50K. We're going up only tomorrow. And you're like, you got like, it's so noisy. And so that's when I go back to like, okay, what can I get good at? What, right? Like what can be successful in any market, on any chart, in any environment. Like, yeah, that's like what you said. It's the ability to go both ways in a market. It's the ability to take signals on a chart. And that's what I've been working on lately, and actually starting to real-time trade it is it's just on signals. So let's look at this, man. Let me go to this chart. I think I blasted everything, but let's go to the 5 minute. So I know this is a super low time frame chart, but basically, I just blasted my signals. No worries, we'll get them. Let me add, well, it's very beta version 1 right now, and I'm tweaking. But let me show you, oh, I guess I lost it. Anyways, I have a system basically that, so we looked at the daily buy sell signal map, right? It's the same thing. I just applied on the 5 minute. So on the 5 minute, and it's more noisy, but basically, and what I do is I just sit here on like a 5 minute chart, and I get my vertical line tool out, and I say, okay, let's start. Oh, I guess we can start here because I was trading this. Was this last night? I think this fall was last night. So we got this fall and we break up. So what I do is I just sit here and I go like this. Okay, if we break this downtrend, we come up and we get some strength above RSI. We get some strength. That could be a signal for me. So, like let's go long right there. So that would be go long signal. And then like when am I out of this trade? Or when does this signal or when does this condition reverse? Well, if this should for some reason fall down and close below like this point, then I am not actually reversing the trend, because a trend is defined by lower lows and lower highs, right? So as you trend, you get lower lows and lower highs. So if this is a higher high, even though I broke this line, if I come up here and I break this down, then I have not actually changed the trend. A lot of stuff in there. But anyways, my whole point is the way I do this, or the way I set this up, is I say, okay, if I'm long here, and you can look and say, okay, I mean, like, you could say this was a short signal right here, if you can see it. See this right here? So, you know, like, that's the whole thing, is you're swinging around and you're saying like, okay, now break trend. They were more of a micro trend in here. So like, okay, when I break this trend or break that trend, now my trend has changed, or it appears to have changed. And so I could take a short system in here, or a short trade or a short signal in here. Then you apply trade management, which are like, okay, my stop is here and I trail it. And then you let the market work. And then, but see how like, even on lower time frames, you have these reversals, right? So look at this, man. So see how this changed trend. So like, boom, we changed trend. Actually, it gave you an intra-trend signal. So what this is you have a signal here. You did get a signal here, but this reversal actually your more macro trend here was unchanged, right? So that's just what, you know, when you look at some of my charts that I haven't cleaned up, like they have lines everywhere, right? So I'm like, obviously you can't write this line until this candle is complete, right? So like you don't know that at that point. All you know is this. All you know is at that point, and that's why this can be a little bit complicated, but see, you broke this down, you're like, okay, now we broke this down. So then, and these are 5-minute candles, so every 5 minutes you kind of have to revise your outlook a little bit, but you're like, okay, now if we come up here and we can break up, then actually that's the trend, so then I'm drawing that. So which trend is going to hold, all that stuff. So we ride this trend. My whole point is like, oh wow, look at us breaking down here. Okay. Yeah, my whole point was like, when I look at like this data or this amount of chart above this line, okay, we held it. If we break this down, these were today's trades, if you will. Short here, long here, short here. And let's just go over that. Okay. They're a little bit more clear. That's why last night was a little tricky, but today was pretty straightforward. Okay. So today's trading was this. Short on that, 8:50 a.m. Central. Okay, short on that, clear breakdown, and then you manage it down. Okay, then what I'm looking for is, you know, I did have an initial trend pattern here, but we didn't quite come up above the 35 here, and I sat short in here. I got out here on this. So what happened was, right, so when I was in this and letting it work and just decided to just see what would happen, because I was, you know, in from here, and so my stop was up here, but let it ride until we got this reversal. And so see how like we broke up through this line, RSI, and this is a bigger picture on RSI too, so I'd have that drawn, right? So RSI had not quite gotten up above here. We had one more drop, and then it finally gained strength to break up. So that was a long signal here. And then you have that, right? That trend held. You also had, but you see, this was interesting because we weren't quite high enough on RSI. So I was like, I do like to wait. I do like to try to swing from low side to high side. Make sense?
Yep.
So yeah, when I'm looking at this, I'm like, I've seen it a billion times. When you're in a trend, you're not quite cooked on RSI. In my world, or from my experience, you're more likely to come up here and reset, what I call reset, than you are to do a mid-range correction. However, you do see mid-range corrections happen, right? So just, you know, like you're just in it, right? You're in it from here, and then you're like, okay, like I'm gonna manage the trade up, and then we got this point, and then look what happened here. See, like from this point to that point to that point, then we broke down right here. That was at, you know, 11:30. That's a short. So I was short here, short on that break right there. And then as you fall, you can manage this. I think I got out down here and was trying to set up for the live stream and stuff. So actually down in here. But now what you're waiting for, so you had this RSI drop, then RSI build on, you know, on a price fall. And what you'd have to do is basically, you know, however you want to draw it, but like that. Look at that. That's pretty good. We had a deviation away from it. But look, that's a pretty good hold. So I would not go long here. So I would not switch long until this starts to break and I get that. So it looks like it could happen.
Yep.
You know, but like, so the, you know, when I sent you my kind of stats, I'm like, hey, look, three good trades today, right? Short, long, short. That's it. Cool, huh?
I like it.
Yeah. So like when I'm in this mode, and for me, like, you see how, and this is what I want to tell people, right? Is like this mode of being and mode of acting with the market. I only take action when I get a signal, right? Like unless I get a signal, I don't do anything, right? Because I'm like, that's why I like do signal scans and all this stuff. And until I get a signal, I don't do anything. Otherwise, I'm just gambling and guessing. And I've done a lot of that, and that's a great way to lose, to be honest. Because then you're like, oh no, should I close it? Should I? Oh, I'm down a little bit. What do I do? And you have no control because you have no plan going into it. So when I do like purely take action on signals only, and I do this in futures too. Like today, it was a great day today. Short setup, short, long setup, long, short setup, short. I don't know, for some reason, futures are easier to me because, well, I've been there a lot, but they seem to not move around and invalidate signals quite a bit. I want to show you something that happened last night. I couldn't believe it, honestly. That faked me out. And this happens from time to time. But my whole point, is, do you see how like this mode of being and acting and operating is totally different than sitting here and being like, well, if the Elliott wave count is this, or if this ABC is that, right? Like, it's a totally different game. Makes sense?
It might as well not even be in the same conversation.
It's not. It's not. Like, this is a tactical execution of a trade system, and executing a game plan versus like the other one is analysis, right?
I know, and like to understand this and to be able to actually operate like this in a market requires it. We've talked about this tons of times, but like it requires a ton of research and understanding, and you got to know what you're doing, and that's how it should be.
And commitment,
and that's the reason why over 90% of the people that get into this market, especially crypto, lose all their money. That's why, because first of all, I have zero experience doing this. We've all been there. You put money on, maybe you're listening to somebody tell you what to do, but you have no emotional training. You have no technical analysis training. You don't understand fundamentals of chart, and like nothing. You don't know anything.
Right.
And so once you get a price swing in any direction, you get completely overwhelmed with emotion, and you saw it. But like, this is what you should be doing. Even if you want to swing trade, this is what you need to learn. You need to have a very clear understanding of support and resistance. You need to know what dynamic trend lines look like. You have to understand RSI, all this stuff. But before you put a single dollar online, like this is what you need to understand.
And that's what we're trying to teach, and so that's what we're trying to do. That's the whole purpose of Jedi Oshi is like, hey, like this is a learned skill. And like even a friend of mine today was like, oh, I thought TradingView was paid for. I'm like, oh no, it's free, man. So it's like, or like, I have like other close friends, I guess you call them, but it's like, hey, go get a TradingView account and like go like open up charts on Amazon or Dow or whatever and just start playing around. And that's like the only way to grow, right? Like 5 years ago, I did not have TradingView. I did not look at charts. I did not analyze charts. Even when I got into crypto early 17, right? Was like, I watched Coinbase Exchange price action move around a lot, but I wasn't analyzing a chart. So we all have to start somewhere. And if the desire is there, if the desire is there to dig in and to learn to analyze a chart and to make your own assessment, this is the way. I really believe it. And I think that anyone with the desire and the curiosity can learn to at least, like do some stuff more in the macro sense. Like go to Apple stock and be like, where are we maybe in a cycle? How high is it? How low is it? What's going on? Look back, like you just said, support resistance, like all those things. And then like you build skills and ability over time, right? So that's what it's all about. But,
you hit the nail, dude. You hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail, and I'll just finish with this. But it's all about this. It's all about the desire to learn. If you don't, I would just advise anyone, and I have been doing that. I have been advising people. Do not put your hard-earned money in this market if you don't have the desire to learn how to operate. Don't do it.
Yeah, because
don't do it. Otherwise, it's a pure gamble, and you might as well go play the lottery.
Well, and hopefully,
at least in the lottery, you don't have like savvy operators working against you.
Yeah.
At least you're just gonna give $10 and let's see if I can win the jackpot.
Crypto.
You try to get into this game with zero experience and know-how, you're gonna get smoked.
I agree, man. And we've all been there, right? Like, I mean, unless like, you're right, it is playing the lottery, because unless somebody convinces you to buy like bear market lows when the entire population in the world is saying like crypto's dead, and you're like, I'm gonna go buy, like Ethereum at $90. Like, who was doing that, right? But today,
You know how many people
like,
do that? Not
like
very many.
0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so
Not many.
yeah,
Or else we'd
so
all be driving Ferraris.
right, yeah. So like, but like, so that this is my process, and this is what I've been working a lot more so on, and like getting good at this process, and getting good at like actually building a black box. Like I'm trying to algorithmically code this. My number one issue right now, and like I've built many systems in the past, but I have an indicator that's pretty good, and I'll actually use it and watch it, and because like I can get breaks and breaks, but I can't, not yet. I'm gonna figure it out. How to print and honor trend lines on a chart, right? So
Yeah.
the whole thing is like 2 points, right? If you go back to like geometry, basic whatever algebra geometry, 2 points have to define a line X and Y, right? So you need 2 points to make a line, and you can take a line and extrude it or extrapolate it forward, right? So in this data set, I'm looking for 2 points, this low point and that low point to start my line. So I take a point here and a point here, and then I extrapolate it forward. Now if that line breaks, it's a signal to me. So all you're dealing with here, this is all just X and Y data, right? So it's just price data and time data. So it's just X's and Y's, but I have to understand how to code it so that I can tell the computer or the machine to run it. And so it's not just, wild crazy, right? So I'm building up to that. It's pretty exciting actually, because you can actually create a bot that trades for you, which is pretty cool. You get into like bot creation, and then basically you just like, I have my algorithm, and it only trades on my algorithm, and it's linked through API links to exchanges, and then it just sits there and works. So that's where I'm going, and it's pretty fascinating world. But
oh yeah,
let me show you last night what faked me out last night. Because you do get, and we're on the 5-minute chart, man, right? This is the most, well, people trade 1 and 2 minute, but anyways, this is one of the most volatile and unpredictable charts. And then you're in crypto, and so it's if you don't know what you're doing, I would not advise anyone to do this. But let's look at last night what happened. Okay, check this out. This is what faked me out. Pretty good. I mean, I got out of it, no big deal. But look at this. Okay, see that pattern right there? Okay,
yeah.
See the support line right here? You can draw it whatever. Let's draw it here. I think this goes back further. That's right. I was drawing this like this, I think. So pretty long term trend break, right? See, we broke that, and then we formed this what I would call a continuation pattern. So if they don't always work, right? That's the thing. Like, there are no hard and fast rules, because and Brandon's here and Mike's here. Hey guys, thanks for joining. We're just talking about kind of what happened last night, looking at low time frame stuff. But so we broke this last night. This was like, I don't know, 8:30ish. Okay, breakdown. I caught it short. It was nice. I was a little bit late, so I was like in here, right? It was cool. I was in here. I was like, all right, nice. Now here we go. Now I saw that, started working my stop down, and there's a couple strategies. One is like 1 bar at a time or whatever, or percents or whatever. So you start working your stop down. So here I am up here, right? Here I'm up here, and on this candle, it looks like we're breaking down, right? We freaking reversed right here and went up only, and I'm like, there's no way. Like, I'm like, this is crypto, man. Like, this is what happens in crypto. You're like, okay, here we go. All right, cool. Now I'm thinking this breaks. I'm thinking this low, that breaks. Maybe it's an ABC. What are my targets, right? So I'm looking for levels down here, right? Like, what could be my downside targets? Like old support resistance. I'm just operating, right? No, we're not breaking out of this. This isn't a continuation pattern. We're going up, and it's like,
right.
That's what last night I'm like. Just sometimes, right, when you're like, okay, and then I'm looking forward, I'm like, okay, this breaks, what are my levels, ABC, symmetry, and you're like, nope, not gonna work. So that kind of stuff happens, quite often, right? So it's never hard and fast. That was interesting. That was last night where it's like, okay, got the breakdown. Okay, painting this consolidation or continuation pattern. Looks like we're breaking out of it. This is where I'm like, are you kidding? Like, are you kidding me? Anyways.
Yep.
Yeah, that's that. So that's the world.
And I think the route become a lot more fluid when you get down on those low time frames, right? Like I mean, you can't count on that like continuation rising wedge, whatever that is. Like you can't count on that on a 5 minute.
No,
you can see it and you should recognize it, but on a 5 minute, man, you can sit and watch that thing. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's why, like, when you go back to like just basic training and such, you know, you have to, in your mind's mind, you have to believe that anything can happen anytime, right? Like you're like,
yeah,
anything can happen. So you go back to your system or your whatever. Like I have a system that says when this happens, I do that. When that happens, I do that. And then once you do that, once that's your decision's made. Like you don't control the market. It doesn't work for you. I mean, it can work for you, but it doesn't do what you want it to do, right? So it either plays out or it doesn't. And that's when you go back to like statistical performance of your system, etc. And so when you get breakdowns or things that like, how do we break down and reverse? And that's where honestly, like crypto does this more than futures. You're like, I don't know how to say it exactly right, but like to me it seems like there's more liquidity and more, you know, big players in futures. You don't seem to, I just don't see like these crazy things like wicks and reversals and, you know, pump wicks before you drop, or like, I mean, you do see stuff for sure, but you know, like when you're in crypto, it's just like, you know, it makes sense a lot less is my point. When
and like
especially
you've got a system. There's no like, okay, so you've got, let's just say you create the best system there is. What's that going to be? 70% win? That'd be incredible, right? Win rate. Like I think we'd be happy with like 60% win rate.
You can actually
on your wall in your office. Yeah, you should have a picture on the wall saying like 40% of these trades aren't going to work. Get over it. So you can just get on to the next and implement your system without taking any emotional action at all.
That's exactly right. Did you know? And the exact math escapes me. But if you're like, I think it's this: if your wins are twice, it's something like this. If your wins are twice as big as your losses, what can your win rate be to break even? And it's 30. If my math is right, it's 33%. So you can win 33% of the time when your wins are twice as big as your losses, and you actually are breaking even. And I think that math is right. But like that's the thing. Like you can be a 40% success rate, but as long as your losses are a lot lower than your wins, then 40% is fine. But any more than that's great. But yeah. So
and you can protect with your stops and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you can protect against a big loss.
And that's the other thing is like, and this happens in the futures market too. But like I'll set a stop. This happened to me. Actually, this was on this trade because what I did was because I was setting things up and everything, I actually set a take profit level. So we were trending down, and I'm like, I don't know if this continues. It looks like it's pretty aggressive, so it may. I'm not sure if it reverses or not, or if it whatever. So I'm like, all right, I think like if you take me out down here, I'm cool, right? And the price action on the chart didn't even get here, and it was like order filled or whatever. I'm like, what? And then it was like, and then like 30 seconds later, you see like the candle come. So there's like price action and book action and like whatever. So like there's a lot of that kind of stuff. But what fascinates me and what works for me and what's exciting to me is the world of quant black box stuff, right? So that's like, I mean like quant finance, but it's basically the world of, and I talked about it, this is a while ago, but these like the world of like either you're an analyst or a technician. And even within the world of technicians, you're either you're like one is a quantitative technician where your job, and they have people that do this for a career, you actually build these bots and you actually build algorithmic black box trading systems like the algos, right? Like somebody has to program and code and monitor and adjust and maintain the algos. But so there's there's that world, and but it's pretty cool. But yeah, that's what I want to show everybody, I guess, today was, when you operate on a system and signals, and what I've been doing lately is just like, I don't really, the truth is I don't care where the market goes when I'm just doing this. I just want it to go, right?
Yeah.
So like,
yeah,
it doesn't matter to me. And
of course.
right. So, but that's that. Just adjusting that. So that's what's going on. Let's see, near time frame, what's going on with, so Bitcoin's breaking down here. Let's go back to kind of like the 1 hour. Okay, Bitcoin's breaking down here. We'll see if we come down, I would say at lower time frame, we'll see if we come down below this point right here. That would be the next logical point here of support would be where we've bounced before. Had a floor here, a floor here. Now we'll see if we come down and what happens here. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see if we follow the fractal. Back to equities. Let's check this out, man, because we are an hour. We're an hour from close. This is the daily chart. We are currently sitting at low on day.
Yeah. I mean, this definitely appears to be a double bottom to me. I don't know about
least,
you.
I mean, yeah,
at the very least, yeah.
After we broke this, I mean, we're either, but this was like a fall. This is a fall and bounce. Hold on, I just have to check something real quick. This is a fall and bounce. This is a lot more of a controlled drop, right?
Totally. And you can see where that's now retesting an area of support from the past. Looks like July, like summertime time frame.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's basically sitting right on it. That's like
when you look at this and you're like, when you look at this and you're like, oh, Bitcoin's dropping. You're like, well, equities are too, and you're like, well, that's no surprise. Well, let's look at the 1 hour chart here. It's a controlled sell off again. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
see what happens.
I think really the most interesting thing will be, is this gonna double bottom right here, or does it continue on to another support level? I think that's the most interesting thing that we've got going on.
Yeah, and then do we break the fractal, or can Bitcoin separate?
Yep.
I'm just trying to find my chart. Here we go. Yeah, so if we let's try to pull that up. Try to get the fractal pattern. I don't know where it was, where it went. But hey, for anybody that's never seen it done, let's do it in real time. So what I would do is, it's the fractal pattern that we've been watching is from this data set right here from 2018. So let me zoom in. And well, first I'll go to the 4 hours so I get a little more resolution. And I think I can grab the data on Bitstamp. But if we go to 2018, here we go. Okay, so what I'll do is, this is how I've been pulling the fractal over. It's from this data right in here, and I use the bars tool. So you go over here to one of the tools in the toolbar. It's called bars pattern. You pull it from about March 28th all the way, let's just pull it to August. So basically what that does is it kind of copies and pastes just the data, color it blue. And then what I have to do is, I think I can just do a Control C and Control V, but I just drag it. I just drag it over like this. And then one thing and we have been watching it recently on log scale, but so let's do that. I'm going to change the chart to log now. And see how it just kind of messes with everything. Let me bring it. Okay, there we go. Now we're on log. Not log, we're just on log. But so you have to kind of shrink it, play around with it, and then you kind of match it here, and then it's not a perfect match, so let me expand it a little bit. Like that, and then need a little more time. something like that.
Hmm?
Right? Okay. Pretty close. Yeah. So then you stretch it and you match it and you fit it. So that's really what a fractal is, more of a structure, like a structure match. Yeah. We had a drop. We had a bounce back. We had a longer period of drop. We had, look at that. And again, this thing is like, it's amazing. You have that feature, that feature, that feature. We kind of started separating here. We didn't double bottom here. And now we came up above it. So what you have to do in this more local data is come in here and to kind of finagle it a little bit. There we go. So you kind of stretch it around to kind of match that drop and that drop. So let's go to the fractal. Look how we had, if I'm just looking at this, I see, okay, I see this low point here kind of correlates to this low point here. If this is that, I mean, like, yeah, like, there we go. All right, Bravo, there's your match.
Boy, that would be clean if it just worked out like that.
Right, yeah. So if we just like,
easy.
Yeah, too easy. So this, if this matches, this is a higher low. So maybe it's, I don't know, here. We drop, we find a bottom, we come back into here. We go sideways for a couple more days, and we start moving up. Hold on, real quick. Sorry, I have to let my dog out. Real quick, sorry.
This is high level live stream action here, everybody. We got dogs, kids.
We got everything, technology.
We got laundry going on. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got the whole program.
I got my coffee over there. Everything. So, dude, check this out. Yeah. The fractal, like, you could say, like, hey, the fractal predicted it, right? So, like, in the fractal, we have a low. You come up here and you're like, hey, we're going to go up only. No, we're not. Oh, we're going to go down only. No, we're not. Come back up here. So, yeah, you basically, to print that on that, we're following this fractal. It's crazy when it matches low time frame. But I have, like, remember this. We did not get a double bottom. Instead, we went up only.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, like, I don't know. When it matches, it's sort of like, hey, look, it worked. And then when it doesn't, you're like, well, I don't know. Something else is going on. Right. So it's almost like you get to use it whenever you want. But yeah, at least for the short time frame, it's interesting how it is playing out. So for this and we've already talked about this, but for this to actually play out, the equities would have to either have a bounce from here or soon. Like, I don't see how, let's say if equities do break down and go lower, I don't see how this holds. I don't.
Right.
Look, I'd be shocked. There'd be some other reason why Bitcoin, and that would be a pretty big decoupling. Right. So we'll have to see what happens.
Well, and there's another pattern at play here, that the one that we were talking about yesterday, sort of off air, but if equities break down lower, I will expect to see a newer local low in Bitcoin. So somewhere down in that 30, 29, 28, one new low, and then a long drawn out retracement. That's a pattern we've been talking about a lot, in a particular, like a crashing pattern where there's a whole bunch of examples, and I don't have any queued up, but it is like, I think it's very, I'm 50-50 that we follow the fractal or that we make one new low. And that's also a very common pattern in this particular structure, is to go down and make one new low and then the long drawn out retrace.
Yep. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll wait and see, man.
That's what we're doing. I mean, that's what we're doing. And in the meantime, you go out and you learn a new skill.
That's what I've been doing. Basically,
that's what I'm preaching.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what, man, such a lovely, I think that's a pretty clear assessment of what's probable and what's likely versus like, hey guys, don't worry, we're going up only. Like, that sounds good. And I'd love it if that were, all I could say. But, there are some definite, hold on, my dog again. there's some headwinds, right? Like when we, the truth is when we, sorry, man, hold on. When we
Yeah.
were at the 618 on equities, when we were on the 618 on equities, then, I thought, okay, we can go up. But with breaking down here, this is what I said. One of the things in the intro really was below 236 on bearish. So we'll see. I have to see how this plays out. I know, man. Right now, Twitter sentiment is in the garbage, right? So,
yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. This is not surprising. I mean, we said it many weeks ago that like we both predicted we were going to get rejected at 618. It happened, and then the comment after that was, well, if we have enough momentum to get through that 618, then perhaps we're going into a retrace. Well, we didn't have it, so here we go.
Yeah.
So now we're breaking down for obviously a double bottom, or
at
even,
least,
or even lower.
maybe. I mean, we'll see. But
that's a double bottom.
These
right?
things happen.
That's a double bottom.
Yeah, these things they act as kind of magnets, right? So once you get close, get close to like getting here, you're going. Like,
they do.
9 times out of 10, you're going at least to this level, and this thing is
the bulls are giving up.
I mean, we bounced from here, but that's not I wouldn't classify this as strong support, right? So I'm looking at other levels. So here, right? Sure. So yeah, let's just say there 4165 or 4060, and this is obviously S&P, but yeah. So our turnaround here, I think Bitcoin follows a fractal. Let's say this. If S&P goes to 4165, Bitcoin probably drops to 33. If S&P goes to 4060, Bitcoin probably makes a new low. That's how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be,
totally
A, B, C. And then what happens, we'll have to see.
Yeah. That would be a pretty, depressed altcoin market too. in any of those scenarios.
Yeah. It
ain't gonna look good.
And we're looking at real strength stuff too, but man, if you look at even I'll flip this to the 1 hour, everything's just been selling off. Nothing's in alts. So alts do better when Bitcoin goes up. Alts do a lot worse when Bitcoin goes down. So you're just seeing stuff I think, whatever. I mean, SHIB was holding up. SLP actually was up decently, but that's just the reality of the situation right now. Sorry.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to really analyze. We just need a clear change in trend. I mean, that's what we're looking for, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, that's what I think about is what's the prudent, this is SHIB. What's the prudent, what do we do, right? Well, if you have dry powder, this is where I get ready, get ready to buy something, because I think there could be an opportunity coming up. Maybe if we get down to here, I think you could buy some lows. That's why I've been honestly just patient and almost stubbornly so with, what I took off up here, from some of my positions. I'm I'm just not, I want, the chart needs to tell me when to come in on strength, right? So that's why I've been talking about waiting for strength. And until we see the strength, because again, what that would look like is, okay, market break trend, right? Okay, market break trend. Prove to me that there's some strength, and then I'm interested in positions. So until then, I mean, if there's risk and it looks like a pretty decent chance that we separate from the fractal, come down here, maybe it's 33, maybe it's 30, hopefully that's it, we'll see. But then if we, go up from there, that's what you're dealing with, that's your opportunity point, right? So your opportunity point is to be buying, is to buy the dip. So that's the current opportunity point. Unfortunately, I wish it were the opposite, where the opportunity would be selling positions right now, because that's, I know what we want to hear. But the reality is the opportunity at present looks to be waiting for a dip to buy. What do you think?
Totally. Yeah, totally. I mean, the chart I sent you last night was a really good match to what's going on with Bitcoin right now, where that first initial pop back doesn't make the 382. And the chart that I sent you last night was very similar before it went on to make another low and then double bottom.
Yeah.
And then go on to hit a perfect 702, right? Like, so I do think there are similarities here where the strength, there was just really very little strength on the bounce back. I mean, to not even make the 382, that's, like you say, maybe that's an A leg, maybe not. Maybe we just continue down. I mean,
Right.
I
So what
think that's
what
very
you're
likely.
talking about is here, right? Like, so we didn't even make
Yeah,
382.
yeah.
We didn't.
Right.
And that's the whole theory was like, oh, maybe this is 3, like this is our A, this is 3 and 5. Well, it doesn't have to be, right?
Yep.
This breaks down, we break down. If this breaks down, then that was not A leg. So yeah, if this level breaks, then we have to start over. And maybe it's down here, and then we start over and we go, okay, now it's an A, B, C or something, right? So we'll have to go through the whole thing again.
With dry powder, that's a great scenario for people that want to buy, because you're going to get a hell of a good deal on a bunch of stuff.
I think so, man. You know, and then you could be, well, I don't know. I hate saying like this will be a fast ride up, because no one knows that.
Right.
But we have seen some igniters. Like there was some, if you go back in time, like, where was it? Was XRP like 60 cents? So look, from here to here, and I know this isn't like, you know, right home that we won the entire game, but right, like from here to here, like XRP went from 60 cents to 90 cents, right? So if you're, you know, on the game and you're like, okay, I break down it, I'm gonna take that off, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Like XRP had a 50% gain, and there were others that did much better. You know, SLP, right? We were talking about Smooth Love Potion just going up. I think it was a 2x off bottom. So yeah, that is, but I think that's the point and period of maximum financial opportunity. It is also going to be very, it'll be like this. If you recall the sentiment here, everybody you know, most everybody you know, will be calling for, you know, at this point, like, oh, we're going to 20, this is like 29K. Like, oh, we're going to 20, and then whoop, we just reversed out, broke trend, created a new trend, got strength, and here we go. You know, so at some point I think that happens, and we did talk about this quite a bit this summer, Fractal. You know, and I haven't done any work, but what I'm looking at in my eye right now is, you know, and we've talked about this though, you know, is this like that, right? Something like that.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. There's a million different things, a million different ways to draw this stuff, and that again, this goes back to the predicting bucket. And I hate when I do it. And when somebody's like, "Oh, we're going down," you know, like, oh, I don't think that I know where we're going, so I don't know. Like, why would I trust your prediction over mine? Because I study charts 20 hours a day, right? So
okay, and so there's two things. To me, it's like, if you're going to predict, you better bring something to the table. So, you know, if we had to present a case, we've got a fractal. Okay, the fractal's pretty good.
Yeah,
we've been following it pretty close for it's a structure. It's a bear market structure. You can find that structure many different places. Okay, great. So that's one possibility. There is also another possibility that you actually would have to invert the Bitcoin chart, but there is another structure that I could present to you showing one more low.
Right. It's like,
or
it goes
in the
like
case
this.
of, if you invert it, yes, and then there's a long drawn out ABC.
Right.
I can show you that
quick.
Structure occurring multiple places in the market.
Right, yes. That's this one.
And it goes out to a 702 or a 618. Yeah, I could show you that. So like when you and I are sitting here talking about possible opportunities or possibilities, this is what the reason why we're doing is because we've seen them. We've seen them over and over again. And it's not, no one is coming on in Jadayoshi just screaming up only or down only. There's definitely going to be a reason behind why we're saying this stuff.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing is like, here's my case and here's my basis for it. Here's my logic and my rationale. And honestly, like, this was from years and years of, you know, engineering. You have engineers being like, here's my answer. They're like, no. I'm more interested in your logic and your assessment and your read. And I need to understand. Yep. And for my job,
see the process.
Like for my job, right? I need to understand the risks inherent in the variables that you're selecting and why you're choosing those variables to arrive at your answer. So I need to better understand the risk and uncertainty in each variable than the ultimate answer that you're trying to, you know, like we're trying to say deploy
Yeah.
capital, right? Like, let's go deploy all this capital, and I'm gonna make a decision on that. Like why should I do that? And if you like, these are engineers too, man. Like, if an engineer can come to you and say, here's exactly how I assumed this particular piece of the entire world, and this is how the variation of this variable impacts the ultimate outcome, right? So like, it's like when you look at sensitivity analysis or like tornado charts, or like, okay, what is how does rate of return how is rate of return impacted by assumptions in productivity or whatever, right? I'm trying to keep it very generic, but like and you get into like key engineering variables of like, you know, parameters and such. But you're like, okay, what if that's half? What if that's double? What if this project, say for projects, right? Oh, say like, let's make it up. Let's do real estate, right? We're going to build a building. It's going to cost this much. We're going to have this many occupants. They're going to pay this much in rent. Okay. Like, I'm on board. I get the idea. Now, what if lumber costs twice as much? How does that impact rate of return? What's payout? Does payout go from, you know, 12 months to 2 years, or like maybe 3 years to 6 years on a real estate project? Or what if my occupancy is 80%? Or like, what drives that rate of return and my ultimate payout, right? So what's the most important variable, and how have we done in de-risking that? So how can we be sure or more confident in our assessments? So I know that's a lot, and I kind of took you on a
no, it was perfect.
road.
That's that was great.
That's it, right?
You could rewind that, listen to it again over and over if you wanted to, but it makes perfect sense. Like, if you're going to have a project with 4 people and you're counting on one person to do part of the project, well, how much variability is in his behavior? Is he a drunk? Does he like to smoke weed in the morning? Like, what happens if he's not here tomorrow? Like, right? I mean, right.
Yeah,
so
same for like
in the market. Yes, exactly right.
So when you make these like predictions, and that's when I see it, like Twitter's honestly the worst, man, because it's like anybody can post anything, whatever, right? So you can't read into like how much work is in this like assessment. Like there's none of that. So like people are like, oh, we're going to 20K. You're like, okay, we're going to 100K. Like that combats that, I guess, or what? I don't know. But it's like, yeah, the assessment is only as good, in my opinion, as the underlying read of the components. And so that's why, again, why here we try to present, you know, the good, bad, and the ugly, and say, hey, look, these are the scenarios, and this is why. This is why I have this assessment of the market. This is what I'm seeing. And ultimately, the entire goal of Jedi Oshi is to help people learn to do that, or at least to help people start thinking that way, right? Versus like, just blind trust or faith or something in somebody, right?
Oh, exactly right. You're so much better off being skeptical as your general outlook. You know, especially when you're in something. If you don't have your own system and you're not convicted on what you're doing, like, you should go into all of these scenarios with pretty heavy skepticism. Like, I'm not going to listen to this guy or girl until I really figure out why they're telling me what they're telling me. Twitter is the ultimate. We talk about this all the time. Twitter's the ultimate place. It's the ultimate place where people want to sound right instead of getting it right, and that's what pays. Like, I want to come out and I want to, I want to sound right, and so people follow me, and I'll say anything with conviction to make you believe that I'm right, so I can get a giant following and then sell ad revenue, right? Like, well, that's the whole game,
dude. That's why
it's not about being right.
Well, yeah. So that's what you and I talk about a lot of times. Most people out there, and like you hear them all the time, they try to be right and not get it right, where it's like, and that's why the running joke on Twitter is like, oh well, last week everybody was a Federal Reserve monetary policy expert. Now we're foreign geopolitical risk experts, and then we're endocrinology or epidemiology experts, and we're whatever. It's like you see the whole shift from like, why Russia, Ukraine is a big deal, a thread, and there's like, here's my thread, and you're like, okay guys, whatever, like, let me get back to the charts, and like, what's the chart telling me to do right now? Like, that's it. Like, that's how I'm making money now. So like that. But hey, what you can see here is this is the ribbons down here. This is my I just have IOSHI sell. These are sell indicators. This is on the daily. These are for different things. So I have like orange and purple. But yeah, from some of the code. But like, so this would be, see how we triggered a sell on the daily right here. This was on, I don't remember exactly what purple's for, but we triggered daily sell here. We did on an event here, and this could have been on either the RSI indicator or price indicator. But yeah, just you know, being able to build a system like this, that's what I'm working on anyways. And this is what helps me this is what helps me keep trained on charts. And like I think I mentioned yesterday, day before, but I'm like, guys, what I normally do in time periods like this, when everybody's telling me what's going to happen and everybody else is telling me what's going to happen, is like, I say time out and I say like, wait, hold on. Like, what is the chart saying right now? Like, what condition are we under? Like, who's in control? What are my signals? Are bears in control or are bulls in control? What are my key levels? What's happening? And then we can go from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Rich is here. Good to see you, Rich. Thanks for joining. But yeah, that's it, man. And that's how I stay sane in an insane world. Is I go back to like, okay, what's the setup? Long or short? What time frame? I talked a little bit about this, and I don't know if Bravo, you were here, but I was talking about time frames. And what's interesting is like if you have a system like this, and you can apply a 5-minute trading system and time frame up to a daily or a weekly or a monthly, doesn't matter because it's all the same.
Yeah.
Right. But what's interesting is when you start seeing, and this is what I was getting into like last night, was okay, 1 hour signal. What's like, think of flags or like think of ripples or even like watermarks. Like if a 5-minute signal spills up into the 30-minute signal, it spills up into the 1 hour, spills up into the, you know, you may have ripples and waves in each one, but you're going to get like 1 hour signals, and you're going to get transmissibility from one to the other. So you may start like what I explained was to flip a daily buy signal to sell signal, you will start seeing it on the lower time frames. So to say your currently daily signal is sell. Okay, for that to flip buy, you'll start seeing it on the 5-minute, then the 15, then the 1 hour, then the 30, then the 4 hour, then the 12, and then the daily, right? So that's why we look at these different cascading time frames. And so, yeah, it takes a lot, and you have to really get into it, but it is really interesting to see. Sometimes you see really high correlation between time frames, and that's usually, in my experience, anyways, is when you get the highest confidence of a signal. Is when you have things matching up, right? So I think that's the other thing that threw me last night was that fall off that I showed you. That fall off from the pretty long-term trend, and granted it was a low time frame chart, but that fall off was pretty high confidence. I mean, you had a sell signal, it was like 4 hour. I think it was like up to 4 hours sell signal, 1 hour sell signal, 15-minute, 5-minute. It was like all sell. I'm like, okay, pretty high confidence position here. Looks like a consolidation pattern. And then that's what blew my mind is when we just jumped up from there. I'm like, you know, like, wow, you know, like didn't expect that to happen, but that's what happens.
It's humbling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay. You know, all right, we're doing something else.
You just file that, right? I mean, you just put that in the back of your mind and just understand that that's possible.
It does happen. Just like we rolled through here, you know, on the daily. But it was like, okay, we follow the fractal, we double dip. And what happened right here on February 4th? A monster green. It's like, I guess we're going up. Okay, we're doing something else. Right. So yeah, even, you know, like that's what I would say to anybody, really. It's like we kind of painted 3 scenarios here and 3 things to watch for, but something else can always happen. Right. Like, there are infinite possibilities for the future. Right. So, but, you know, based on the assessment and the analysis, the scenarios we feel at least are more likely than anything random. Make sense? And that's why we do this. Totally. Is because we feel that these are more likely than something just out of nowhere.
Yeah, and so what I think, you know, just macro view, I think we are waiting for the bottom, and we're waiting for a 702 retrace. That could be like in July.
Yeah.
I just, for anybody that, you know, is dying over time frame or whatever, like I can't tell you how many of these topping structures I've looked at that grind the retrace out for months. Man, this is not 2018. This is not a rocket 702. Like, it's not.
Yeah. I mean, and we know we're in a slower market. However, though, this is what I go back to even on those assessments. When we look at those, I'm like, yes, I get that in time looks like that. Like this
Yeah.
This is crypto though, right? So like,
The smaller ship, for sure.
Sometimes
does move faster.
it can move, and yeah, like
Yeah.
I think we're missing momentum here. But again, this is crypto, so like, look, I'll never forget, and we'll never forget this jump out of the bottom from July. This was a pretty fast rocket, right? It was like, whoa, here we go. We bounced out quickly. But yeah, I think if that one pattern that you're talking about, say we get that, and then it's like, if I'm right, it's a pretty quick jump, maybe not that high, but in structure, something like that, and then like this, right? Is what you're talking about.
That's one that's one possibility for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or a lot of variations on this theme, and time is the hardest thing, right? But in structure, fractals can point to things that are more likely than others. But yeah.
And the other thing is, like, do you think the S&P is printing, a similar structure as this? I mean, I think it's similar, right?
That's a good question. I don't know.
It's certainly not identical, but you've got a top, a dip, and then another top, right? If you pull that up,
let's do it. I'm just wondering if I do top and bottom. Let's do top and bottom. Let's check it out. Okay, Bitcoin's on top. We're gonna put let's do S&P on the bottom. Let's check this out.
See if you can line those suckers up. Yeah.
So like,
let's see where we're at here. Yeah, the top. Yep.
So okay.
And you get those on
all-time high, drop, retrace. Man,
you've got it's not the same structure, right? But it is similar. It's similar.
Lobe. That's the thing, man. The S&P has a retrace and crypto doesn't yet. Look, the S&P came up to 618 and crypto hasn't.
Yeah.
You're like,
right.
That's the thing. We were like honestly, seeing this jump back to 618, we're like, okay, this is a good sign for us. Like, we could follow, and we didn't get that high. So that was one thing that was interesting, but like double lobe. So, okay, like if I were to kind of
it's obviously not the same.
Lobe.
It just
lobe. Oh, and the head and shoulders camp. Dude, just be ready, dude. I'm sure they're already going nuts right now. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but again, don't forget, like we had all the head and shoulders camp on Bitcoin talking about head and shoulders here. I'm pretty sure. Like that's what that was right there. Don't forget, the head and shoulders people were out in full force, and yeah, maybe like.
And
I'm
not saying maybe. Like. I think the S&P, which I am definitely in the camp that Bitcoin and S&P are like completely coupled until Bitcoin's retrace is over, and then they will decouple. At least that's what they've done in the past. But I think the S&P might be a slower crawl out of here. I mean, I'm spitballing here, right? Just based on the structure. And the S&P is like up only all the time for the last how many years, but it's kind of hard
100
to
years.
Not to mention like the money printing and all that. Like it's really kind of hard to predict the structure because it can be manipulated pretty easily. But
it's mostly
man.
on like a lot of like, money flow, risk on, risk off, right? Like some big macro money flows into, and whether it's people talk about like Fed buying assets or whatever, I don't know, or the bond market. But I'm just wondering, like right now. So like I see some similarities. I also know that when we look at this, remember like I think if I tie these to this low, and I don't know how to do that in real time the best, but like there we go, kind of. This is what I meant when Bitcoin led the spring rally out. So there are similarities in structure, and that's I think what you're thinking of is like definitely the last 6 months or so, and maybe a little bit before that, like back to here, like definite couplage.
The trends match up.
We had both assets bounced off the bottom in September. Bitcoin led. Now Bitcoin led the fall. The equities have fallen. And look at NASDAQ.
So
wow.
What I'm saying is like So if we continue, and I know we could decouple at any point, but if we continue with these, like just kind of following similar trends,
Mhm.
that would tell me that maybe the S&P does a slower crawl out,
Maybe.
and Bitcoin follows it out into its retrace. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
maybe. So if
but that's my point with time frame is like my expectations include all time frames.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's why I'm saying.
Yeah, no, yeah. I get you. This honestly, the whole market just, we've talked about it a million times offline, but like it's just slower. I mean, like it's not 2017. Like,
yeah.
Like woo.
No. Yeah, it's definitely
days.
slower.
It's 40% drop. Only takes 2 days, guys. Don't worry about it. We're gonna go up only. This is like grinding. It's like, what's going on? Like, when is this gonna go? I'm just sitting here thinking, when does because I've been saying like, hey, this Dow, like the Dow, let's look at Dow Jones alone. This whole theory of a blow off top. And there's a fractal from 1929 that I was showing that did have a kiss back to the 236. But in 1929, we kiss, and this is one thing that I think about, or I've been thinking about the last couple of days as we've broken the 236 here, is at what point does my whole theory of a blow off top, like what point do I say, okay, I'm gonna deviate from that? And I don't know what the answer is.
Yep.
Right. I don't know. I think once we get a new low, maybe if we come down to here something, but that doesn't mean, and this kind of gets into predicting again, but like it doesn't mean that we can't do this and then do that. You know what I mean? Like something crazy happens, whatever, it just happens, and we blow off. It does, just because we break this down doesn't quite mean that, but it will. I've been showing the 1929 fractal. This will deviate from it. So we're just watching that.
Yeah.
And so what happens? What'll happen if that happens, right? Well, the only thing that happens if that happens is we're gonna have to come up with a new assessment, right? So this is the living as an analyst of the market world versus like a quant technician or hardcore day trader living on signals, right? So in the analyst world, as we put our analyst hats on, if something invalidates something, then we have to come up with, okay, something else is happening. Just like that trade last night. Boom. Didn't finish the consolidation, didn't keep going down, it turned around, like, okay, zoom back out. Okay, now what's my assessment? So you're constantly reassessing. Right, so that's the way, that's just how it is. You're in a constant
Totally.
state of assessment, and you're getting new information, and then you're having to use that information to make a new assessment and say, okay, what's possible, what's likely, what's going to happen, so if that breaks, if we get new lows, then we go back to saying, okay, now what's likely, what's possible, what are we seeing, what's our read, what's our assessment. That's just what you do. Yep. It can get, and that's where you and I get into like, I'm sick of predicting, because you're constantly having to reassess your outlook, right, and your read on everything. Because
it's way too hard. Mm-hmm. It's way too hard.
Like the whole thing is if that's
a drag,
right? You're like, okay, if this happens, then that. Okay, well that happened. Okay, like else or whatever, and you're like, so it's you're in a constant state of, like an analysis. But that's just where you have to be comfortable with living and not knowing, because it's not possible to know, right? So
true. Yeah, true.
So
that's it.
That's it, man. I guess that's it for the live stream. Hope that was good. I don't know what else to really cover. That's kind of the read. I think we covered everything, Bravo.
Yeah, I mean, we said a lot of stuff to say like, all right, we just got to relax and see what the chart does.
we said a lot of stuff to be like, oh, not really sure what's gonna happen, but like this is what's happening, and we'll see.
What about that 702 kiss on the Dow Jones you just had up there? I don't think I've ever noticed that. See that?
Mm-hmm. Look at that. 702.
What's to say that sucker's not just going down only?
I mean, anything's possible, right?
Like, that's a double sort of like that's similar to what Bitcoin just did. Like
What
new
I
all-time
what I
high
would do
dip.
is I'd go back and look at other situations where we've had that, right? So like I don't know, like this
Yeah,
looks
in
like,
an uptrend, sure.
like okay, like that's an 883 drop. Look at that
Yep.
new bottom. Now is that a fractal for where we are today? I don't know. So you just
It
dig
totally
in,
just
right?
depends if you're in the uptrend.
And you're like,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
where have we failed before, and then gone on to make a new high? So that's like, I'm looking at this
Dude,
time period, like
it's-
that's a top drop, new high, like here, like that to their rejection, but made it. So yeah, like the classic kiss of the 702 and rejection.
it's just really hard with
rejection.
this with the Dow Jones and with the S&P, because it's like, I mean, when you look at the macro structure minus COVID, and I mean, like, it's mainly just always in an uptrend. I mean, it just, there's so much uptrend that, yeah, these big dips happen, but it's like, that's why I just feel, I mean, like, it seems we're so likely for a big correction, a big correction.
I think so. That's why I was saying, like, I believe it's coming. I'm not sure if, like, I hope I'm not wrong. Like, and that's probably what my bias honestly is. Like, I'm hoping that this isn't it, because then I'll have missed it, and I didn't want to miss it, and I haven't wanted to miss it for 10 years. Make sense?
Right.
So there's there's my personal bias, honestly, and I know that I am. I'm like, no, this can't be it, because I've always, like, for my whole adult life, basically, like, I want to ride this thing down, and this can't be it, right? So let me find out 10 ways why it shouldn't be. So I know I'm biased that way.
Yep.
Right. So that's just, I'll own that. But yeah, it could be. No one knows for sure. But yeah, 702 drop, and we come down here, and yeah, I think I guess we'll just have to see.
I mean, who knows? Yeah, it looks like it's rolling over to me, but
I thought that here too. I thought that, I thought the world was over in 2009. I thought the world was over, and I thought I thought this was it. And we got that. I thought, like,
I know, look at that. Yeah. Yeah, we just gotta wait and see. We gotta
wait and see. We'll see.
Think of it.
Just like, oh, okay. But in the meantime, I'm gonna build a trading bot. How's that sound?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
constructive.
Yeah. Well, that, and then we're putting content together for Jadoshi. Hey man, I rolled out. We'll see how many people get to the live stream to this point. But I did for the group. I posted up the plans for Jadoshi, right? So we're gonna have content. We're gonna train people. We're gonna have consulting, one-on-one type help for people, if anybody wants it, to talk about whatever. And then at some point we're gonna have a system signal automated, and get that running in the future. But and then there is a way for people that, because a lot of people have asked me, like, are you moving to Patreon? Are you whatever? And I'm like, no, I want this community and what I post in here to be free for people that want to come and learn, and be respectful and participate and whatever, or just sit back and learn, and just but it will be a positive environment. It's not going to turn into a lot of what a lot of groups turn into, with negativity and bashing and just garbage. Okay, like, it's going to stay clean and pure, and so I will make sure that happens. But yeah, I want it to be. It's going to be a place, because the whole purpose for Jadoshi is to help people that want to learn to read a chart and to make their own assessment, and to start thinking like a trader and understand what this whole thing is, right? So my point is, there is a way for people to give back. I'm going to have, like, people that want to, or feel like they're led to, for people to give back, either, probably Bitcoin or something. Just say, hey, here's a Bitcoin address. This is not a paid group, never will be. But if you want to give back to the community and what we're doing, then here you go. Way for people to do that.
Yeah, that's great.
That's it, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's great.
So I'm honestly, dude, I'm busy building content.
Yeah.
Building trade systems, trying to, like, I'm doing live trading, and trying to hone those skills. Moving into the futures world too, and all of it. It's fun.
Yeah, man, you're dialed in. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's great for everybody else that's in this community, because, I mean, they don't know you like I do, but, like, I know what you're up to over there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's no BS going on here.
No.
This is about learning. This is about winning.
Yeah.
And I guess that's just the best way to put it. And I think it's for anybody to learn. And this is a great place to do it, because there's going to be a ton of free content and free alpha out there that should be a springboard for people to who really want to do it. Like, you can get a real nice base just kind of coming here every day and learning and listening, and then there's a zillion resources, and then you're going to have you will personally have those resources, and they're going to be put together in a way that's like pretty easy to digest.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's
you
the
and I have
thing,
been
man.
all over the internet and all over these training programs and books and this and that, and it's like it's really not that easy to pick up these skills. So like
No,
putting it
it's-
together in a big package from start to finish is key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I say, man. Like, anybody, like, so we have almost 200 people in the Telegram group, and I'm just gonna keep showing up every day, right? Like, guys, here's my assessment, here's my read, because I'm doing this anyways, and so here I'm gonna give it away. And you know, if somebody is in the group and they're watching the videos and they're paying attention to Telegram, like, it's up to everybody, right? But if you want to learn, like, I promise you, in a few months maybe, or I mean, it depends on how long it takes for you, but over time you're going to learn a lot by being here. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to hear a lot of things. You're going to see a lot of things you've not been exposed to before. This is a great place to learn, and we're going to make it a great place to learn, right? So that's the whole point. So
Very cool.
cool, man. Well, with that, I guess
All good,
let's sign off, and we'll see what happens here the rest of the let's look at I know we always do this one last flyby on. Let's do the hourly on S&P. Now we're still selling off into close here. Okay, we'll see what happens. Let's see one last look at Bitcoin into close. Kind of this hourly chart, kind of the same. But see how it's orderly sell off here. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll keep you posted or updated in the Telegram for sure. Bravo,
Cool.
thanks,
Buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for being with us today, man.
You got it.
All right, and thanks everybody. We will catch you later. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.